remember to download both the Single TV app on the respective app stores, iOS and Android devices. While you are downloading, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV Stick, Roku, and Roku Sticks are also in all smart TVs since 2016. Today, I am super excited to be here with a friend, a coach, a mentor, an inspiration for me, Stacey Sellar, CEO of Happier by the Minute. And I'm excited to work with all of you on this because Stacey is working with something that we all need, and that is how we learn to parent our kids in a way that they don't need therapy in 20, 30 years from now. I'm going to be very blunt, but Stacey is a best-selling author, twice best-selling author, international, and after having a career of almost 7 figures in California, she jumped and say, this is not what is calling my heart. And then she packed everything and started a nomad lifestyle with her beautiful children and her husband. And they are traveling the world. She's going to tell us a little bit more about that, but she is packed with wisdom, with tips. And one of the things that I love about her is, like me, she's not the coach that you want, she's the coach that you need. So she's going to tell you what you need to hear, even if that stink and hurt a little bit. I was actually in a coaching call with her this week, and she was coaching a mom, and that is exactly what she said. She's like, I know that this may hurt, but this is what you need to hear. So Stace, thank you so much for being here with us, and welcome here.
Unicorn Joe, anytime I get a chance to spend a minute with you, my day is better. I just am so excited to be here. Thank you.
Now, why you don't tell us a little bit about a little more about you and what we are doing, and then we will start from then into actually getting these moms and new moms some tips for how they can thrive their parenting style, raising beautiful, happy, and successful children.
Okay, first I want to say hi to Tina that joined. I just am so excited. Look at my friend Tina. Nice to see you, love, or that I can't see you, but to be here with you. So, what can I tell you? So I did. I quit my corporate job of 17 years to go world school my kids. But even while I had a corporate job, I've always had a passion for personal development, and so I was certified as a coach in positive psychology, which is all about strengths-based and what's right with us instead of what's wrong with us. So then to have a child that had special needs where everybody wants to give him a label and diagnose and everything are these morbid titles and negative titles, I said there's got to be a better way. So I got certified in conscious parenting with Dr. Shafali, my friend and mentor, and who wrote The Conscious Parent and Oprah's favorite mom. And I combined the two, conscious parenting and positive psychology, to come up with ways to parent ADHD children where really and it works for any child. So all of it doesn't matter what his diagnosis is. But to parent any child more consciously, more aware that they are not broken. And the number one thing is stop looking at the behaviors, stop looking for strategies for the behaviors, and look at what's causing the behaviors. And if you can do that early on, I'm telling you, your journey is going to be a lot simpler. It's not going to be perfect. I want to make sure people don't project onto me this idea that I'm a perfect parent and I have perfect children, because it's life, right? It's life.
I agree with you. And one of the things that I want to go deeper, several things I want to go deeper with you, but one of the things that I want to go deeper right now is that concept of labeling, because I know that your niche is for children that are diagnosed with ADHD. And I also know, and I was talking with you early this week about this, I also know that children tend to be labeled with not only that, but there is something broke in society that we want to label children into boxes on, okay, so you cannot stay still, and you are good at this and you're bad at this. So that is why I think that what you are doing is so important. And I want you to share with us the story of your children first, and then also after that I want you to tell everybody, because if you know somebody with, I'm gonna reframe, they are not with, if you know somebody that is diagnosed with ADHD,
Yep.
stays change the meaning of the ADHD. And I want you to share that, because that is going to be a nice frame for all of us to start seeing that not as a disease, but as a superpower. So why you don't
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your children and your journey as a mom, and then go from there with the ADHD and what that means to you.
Well, let's just start. ADHD, a dear human developing. We're all developing, right? Why do we need to put any labels? All of us, there's some neurodiversity in all of us. But let's go back to what we are socially conditioned to believe is a good child. And what we want is a good child. Because if we have a good child, guess what it means? We're a good parent. And we want to believe that we're a good parent. And we want to believe that if they're a good child, then they will have a good life. They will have a good job. They will have a good paycheck. I'm very dramatic about this. But those are all just beliefs. So we're socially conditioned to have these beliefs that if they are compliant, if they are honest, if they follow the rules, if they are always kind and self-sacrificing to other kids, they are always the nice one and always generous. Like, we have these beliefs about what a good child is, and so we put that on them. If you think of it like it's a mask almost, that we want them to wear this mask, and now we, all of us adults, need therapy because our parents put these masks. And no judgment on our parents, they didn't know any better. The science and the research is not there like it is now, and it's just a different time. But we were expected to be this certain way, and now we grew up thinking we need to expect certain things about our children, that they behave, that they eat all their dinner, and that they eat all the vegetables, and that they never complain, and that they wake up when we ask them to wake up, and get dressed when we want them to get dressed, and throw their clothes in the laundry. Like, there's so many things, and we are moving away from those expectations. It doesn't mean that we don't want a child to be a respectful child, but instead of demanding, you need to respect me because I'm an adult, you need to respect that teacher because they're adult. Instead, we're teaching them the skills about respect. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Why do you choose to be respectful, or why do you choose not to be respectful? That is your choice as a sovereign being. But it's also my job to teach you, if you're disrespectful, it's not going to, it can be a lonely world. It can be hard to relate with people. And so we're here to teach them those things, not to demand it of them. So my child was diagnosed at 3 years old, before he was three, actually, told that he had delays. So immediately you are wondering, you're put in this system, into the school system of, he needs services, he needs to be fixed. By the way, I don't know if you know that Einstein didn't speak till he was 5, and he did all right for himself. Okay. So, and this whole belief that he's got to, get into this school system, and he's got to get these executive functioning skills, because if he doesn't, then he won't go to school. And if he doesn't go to school, he won't go to college and get a job. Richard Branson, do you know when he left school? Do you know what age?
No.
Richard Branson, he's a pretty famous guy, pretty
Yeah.
successful. He left at 15. So there's no set way that you equal success. A plus B plus C does not equal E in this, formula, especially because different parents, different children. And so I just see one of the ladies listening, Aisha, said, I needed this after receiving an email from the teacher that I need to teach my daughter impulse control. By the way, it's also the teacher's job. That is one of the things about our children. is impulsivity. First of all, it might be age related. They don't know it. And so, yes, we do teach it, but it doesn't mean that we teach them in one lesson and they should understand impulse control. I have so many parents that tell me he knows better. He knows better than to steal the chocolate. He knows better than, than to hit. Yes, I understand. But what he doesn't know is how to pause between the impulse and the hit. That's what we have to teach. So yeah, it's true, Aisha, we do. It's not helpful to have a teacher that says you need to teach your child impulse control, but it's true. We all need impulse control. By the way, Joanna, you also do MOMFIT and WildFit. Do you know a few people who just know they shouldn't eat that second cupcake?
Yep.
Do you know anyone that eats the second cupcake? Adults.
Yep.
By the way, that's impulse control.
Yep.
We all have it and we all don't have it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about what Stacey is sharing with us is, you know me already, and you know that as an engineer, I'm also always thinking on be preventive, be proactive instead of reactive. And what happened with moms like Aisha, and all other moms is we don't start thinking about these things until somebody external label our children, label our kids, and then we go into a reactive state. Actually, I've been telling this analogy a lot. In Colombia, makes a lot of sense. In Spanish, make a lot of sense than in English. But it's the meaning of if you make the first punch, you always be more willing to win the fight. If you make the first punch, you will make the second punch. And in life is like that. So the part that is interesting about what Stacey is saying is, moms, because some of you are moms to be with MomFit, please don't wait until somebody external label your kid. Be prepared. Learn about the kind of parent that you want to be. Don't wait until the society want to put your kid in a box to say, oh my gosh, now I need to learn how to raise my kid in this label. Be prepared. And then, like we were telling you at the beginning, even if your child never gets labeled into any of these, the foundation, the tool, the way that you are raising your kid will only make your kid a happier, blooming, beautiful, kinder human being in humanity, that we all can agree that we need a lot of that right now. So
They're
thank you so
skills, they're life skills. It's all life skills. And impulse control is one of them. And the reality is, though, that what worries me about that is the teacher and what she's bringing to that relationship with the child right out of the gate is very judgmental and accusatory and needs to be fixed, as opposed to, I don't know, what's happening in that classroom. Is there a lot of chaos on the walls? Or there's a lot of chaos around the other kids? Is it very hard for the child to sit still? And have they, when is the impulse control hard? Is it after lunch, before lunch? There's so many pieces. But for your moms to be, the best thing that they can do right now is start becoming aware of beliefs and judgments and expectations that they have. And they can see it when they just go to the mall and they're watching other kids. And they're like, oh my God, that child is, throwing a tantrum because they have to leave the playground. Start watching your mind chatter around other parents and other kids. I apologize. I have construction here. If you can hear it, I hope you can't. Okay. But start being aware, because those judgments you're going to bring to your own children. So,
one thing that I want to ask you, because I know that your definition of this is brilliant, and is, I know that our parents teach us that we need to be respectful. Respect is something very important. And then talking about the impulse control, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, Stacey, is I grew up with that branch of moving more than other kids. And back then there was not a diagnosis, so I never was diagnosed. But I remember one teacher talking about you and how you are telling that teacher was not being fair. One of my teachers, instead of judging me and saying you have to stay still, because usually what happens with these kids are they are very fast, they finish everything first, they get very distracted. And instead of she pushing that, she give me the title of the class secretary. So as soon as she saw that I start moving around in the classroom, she will call me and send me to one office, to the principal office, to take this paper, and then go to the cafeteria to take this paper. And she kept me occupied, so
I
I
love
will not distract the other kids, but didn't put that pressure of there is something wrong with you. You are not like them. It's like, oh, you finished this? Okay, let's gonna do this. So thank you for that, and to reinforce that to moms that that is possible, and we need to work as a team with the teachers, with our in-laws, with our family. It's not only us leading the way, it's us creating a team, a village around us and our children. And I want you to go into your meaning of respect, because I know that that is something that is very strong on society and on moms and moms to be 30 and older, because we are all from that generation where you have to respect your adults and you are being disrespectful. So please enlighten us with what is your definition of respect and why we need to be careful when we are asking our kids to be respectful.
It's so funny because I do this group coaching and I ask the group to identify what is their number one value in their family. And so for me, it's kindness, and it's just the word. It's not right or wrong. There's different ones, and there isn't one that's better than another one. But a mom said respect. And it's so funny because it doesn't even occur to me, respect, because when you come at it like that, it's a very hierarchical demand for respect as opposed to a mutual respect. And, I think that the way that you teach respect is by all of them: kindness, respect, love, what any of these are, compassion, is by modeling them. And if you really stop to look at whether you are respecting the sovereignty of your own child and their likes and dislikes, whether they want to eat soup for dinner or not, are you truly respecting them? But you're going to say, well, no, because I know better. Well, how do you know better? And for this child, this being in this life, and this go around with these parents and these peers, and you know, there's just so many pieces to it. And she was also talking about respect for the teacher. And what if a teacher doesn't warrant respect? What if they're not respectful to the child? So it's very, very loaded, respect. And so I think when you come at a child with our number one value is respect, can you truly say that you are respecting that child's desire to not go to bed at 7:30 p.m.? Well, but I know better. Again, do you really know? But I don't know. I don't know.
I love that because it's mind blowing, because this concept of when you are asking for respect, are you asking for compliance and
Compliance,
obedience?
right. You're
It's
right.
like, are you just saying, oh, you need to
Yeah.
respect me because I am the mom and I know better and you need to comply? So that is mind blowing. And then the other one is that I struggle with my baby. My baby's 10 months old. And even that baby, like sometimes he had something that he should not be having. And then the immediate impulse is take it away. But then I'm like, no, like what I'm teaching him, that what he wants and what he is thinking and discovering is not important, I'm taking it away. So I go back and forth and say, like, can you please give it to me and let's gonna have it and thank you. And that for them, because one of the things that blows my mind what you just said about the teacher, and this is something that is why it's so important that we plan and educate ourselves and prepare ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because if a teacher is not respecting our children, our child, if a teacher is not modeling that, and then we go at home with a letter from the teacher, and then we say, like, you have to respect your teacher because she's the teacher, and if you don't respect her, you're going to be punished. What we are going to teach them subconsciously is you need to show to others even if they don't respect you back,
Be
and
subservient.
be
Be
subservient.
subservient. Is
And
that really what we want to teach our kids?
how much trouble that will have for kids in high school, in college, at work, that they will think that it's okay to be disrespectful, and they still need to respect, and that they still need to support abuse or mistreatment or anything like that. So thank you for that, Stace, and giving us a little bit of thing on that. What
So
about
really quickly though, what people will then say is, then how do you avoid disrespect? Because that's where the problem is, right? And then what I would say is, first of all, modeling respect, and then it's a conversation, even as young as 5, even then as 6, and then at 7. It's a conversation about what respect means. It's mutually giving people, I would talk about, why do you think it's important to give respect? I would look it up on Google. What does respect mean? Where did it come from? I would break down the word. I would talk about what it looks like. And then I would talk about why you wouldn't, why do you think you're disrespecting that teacher? Why are you talking when they're talking? What is the behavior? What's happening before the behavior? What's happening before the disrespect? They're not getting attention. They are too confused. So they're trying to distract the teacher from the fact that they don't know what they're doing. There's like so many pieces, and each one is individual. So I just wanted to do that. And then really quickly, also wanted to touch on when you said, well, when my child grabs something that he shouldn't have, and people will say, well, you can't just give your child, a machete. He grabs the machete, and you're not going to say, oh, please, darling, can I have that? You know what I mean? My point is, don't have a machete in the house. Keep the glass things out of their reach, because he is 10 months old. He is going to grab everything he can possibly grab. And if he's not supposed to have it, don't put it in his reach, because he's not going to understand. So, and then, if he does grab it, it's somewhere else, then it is with kindness, with compassion, with understanding, and with, some explanation. Okay. Sorry. Those are the 2 things.
now?
I,
Absolutely,
girl.
absolutely love it. And one of the things that I would love your insight on is that we have also another guest talking about this, is how we can work with family and friends. So it's gonna say, okay, as a mom to be, or as a new mom, or even as a mom of a young child, I decide that I want to follow you and learn from gentle parenting and be gentle with my kid and raise that. How do we handle first the pressure from family saying, oh, your kid is going to be a little brat, that is why your kid doesn't know how to behave. So first that judgment from others, but then the other one, how we protect our child from not being exposed to a different parenting when they are with grandparents or with uncles and aunts, because then it will be in my opinion, will be super confusing for the child. Like when I'm
Yeah.
at home, this is how we handle, but then I'm in this other house and then they're doing something completely different. So I would love if you give us some wisdom and tips and
Yeah.
insight into that.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's so many layers to that. First of all, we can't change anybody else, right? I can't change my husband. I can't, so if I don't. I'm lucky enough to have a husband that is open to all of this. But, there's a lot of moms whose husbands are still in this old school strictness. And so you can't change anybody else. You can expose them to it, you can show them. But so I lived in a multi-generational house for a while we were remodeling. I had my parents, had my sister, my brother-in-law who was an only child, who brought up very old school, very disciplinarian, very sit down at the table. If you're letting him run wild, you are a terrible parent. And he even said that to me at one point. He told me that he thought I was doing a really bad job. So I have definitely experienced this. And the reality is he doesn't understand my child. He doesn't understand what my child can and cannot handle, what he needs, whether he can sit down at a table and sit through a whole meal, whether he, my child's a vegetarian. He is very, very sensitive to people eating meat around him, doesn't want to sit at the table. This brother-in-law thinks he should just sit at the table. So my job is not to convince my brother-in-law. My job is to protect my child and to work with my child and understand that if that makes him so uncomfortable to sit at a table where other people are eating meat, I'll sit at a different table with you. And then I need to work on myself enough that I can handle the judgment. So there's a couple things that I do also is I will send articles to my mom, who I know is open, but I don't send articles to anybody else in my family because A, they won't read it because they're too busy, or they're not open to it. And so I don't send them articles. But the reality is they may not understand your child. So my job is to protect them. And if I know that his grandparents are abusive and will put him in the corner and will give him a timeout, I'm not sending him to the grandparents' house alone. I'm not, because that can be really, really damaging. And, my job is to teach my child, if he's around his cousins who are swearing all the time, I can't, change that, but I can go later and say, hey, I just want to, talk about what happened there and how they were talking to their mom, and say, I just want to remind you that we don't talk like that to each other. And that's something that they do, and that's their own dynamic. And we can, let them have their dynamic, but, that's not what we do. So we talk about it too. If he's exposed to things, or other behaviors or other parenting or other disciplines that I don't agree with.
Wow, that's powerful, and that talks about something else that I want you to touch base on, and is the part of the boundaries, right? Because then what you were saying on how a mom can work on herself to the point that she, because that is something that I tell my moms every week. You only have two jobs: look after yourself and look for your child. That's it. Like, anybody else emotions, anybody else reactions are your responsibility. But how we as moms can start going into that journey when we are still a smaller portion of population. Like,
Yeah.
I know that is one of my friends said this and say, when we the crazy ones be more, the crazy will be the other ones. But
Yeah.
until that point happen, then how we can keep working in ourselves? Because the other thing that I know is, as more we are regulated and as more we are self-regulated, as more we are going to be able to help our child to regulate himself or herself. So in those cases, for example, how a mom can prepare and work on herself to have clear that her job is taking care of her and her baby,
Yeah.
and that almost have a chill around her to actually understand that those judgments, that those critiques, that those things are not personal.
Yeah. I'm going to say something that is not going to be very popular.
Go ahead. You
Stop
are the coach
scrolling.
that we need, not the coach that we want.
Stop scrolling. Oh, I just spit. Sorry. Stop scrolling. Like, here's the thing. I think that we spend a lot of time on social media and on TV and doing things that are not enriching us. We scroll and I see a couple of little things, but then I get sucked into this vortex of, of social media that, 2 hours later, I've watched 45 gender reveals. And I'm like, I don't even care about gender reveals. Like, I don't even know it, like that's not making us better. And I think that putting down the social media to do a course, hire a coach, read a book, about this new mindset, about conscious parenting, about, where are you working on yourself? Where are you building up your foundation, so that where are you building your self-regulation, your co-regulating skills? How are you, you can only do better when you know better. And so I think that it's you have to focus inwardly, and the more that you're scrolling, the more you're just looking outside yourself, and it's not there.
One other thing that I was talking with our previous guest too is, it helps when we also connect with the fact that whatever they are saying, two things, whatever they're saying is their projection from their personal experience, from where they came from what they learned. But then the second one is 99% of the time, it also comes from a place of love. because they care, they love us, they care about us, and in that way they think that they are trying to help, they think that they are, that their way is the right way, and they're trying to share that with us, and that may help to actually don't escalate things but de-escalate things. So coming from that perspective,
Yeah,
because
I
I
have.
want to talk with you about escalating and de-escalating, because I know that that is something huge that you do
Yeah,
with parents and children, and I want to connect that into that thought too.
I have two quotes that are my favorite quotes. Your opinion of me is none of my business, right? And people are allowed to be wrong about you. So many times, like that has saved me because so many times we'd rather be right than be happy. And we want to be right. We want them to know that we were right. We want them to know that I am a good parent and stop judging me. I don't need him to know that I'm right. I don't need him. I'm just talking about my brother-in-law because it's the one reference I have, but I don't need, he's allowed to be wrong about me and my parenting and my child. I don't need, like, so the less time I spend worrying about whether he's right or I'm right or telling him I'm right, that's all the energy I'm going to put into my child and myself. And his opinion of me is none of my business. And and I say that without judgment and compassion too, because where he's at, it comes from so many of his experiences. Like, I can't possibly understand how he got to where he is and what he's been through, so I have no judgment about that either. So he's allowed to be wrong. Like, okay. And you just kind of have to, I love that quote. They're allowed to be wrong.
That's powerful. People are allowed to be wrong about you and your parenting choices. Actually, that hits very close to my heart, because when my baby was born, and I we had milk issues, and we were not producing enough milk, and I was very stressed. I get a lot of pressure and judgment from people very close to me, saying, you are doing the hardware, and then you can go into formula and be happy and get rid of it. And then I was able to do what you are saying, and actually respect their opinion, and saying, I was not doing something irresponsible for my child. That's my child crying. That I
Yeah.
was not doing
He's
something
like, I have
irresponsible.
something to say about this.
I was not doing something irresponsible for him, but I was allowing myself to choose what was important for me, and that was trying to breastfeed. So let's gonna talk
I know
about,
your instinct right now is like, okay, is he okay? He's okay. He's
yeah,
okay. He
they
has,
are they are changing his diaper, and he's in this phase where changing diapers is World War III, him against the world. So hopefully my nanny will take him in a second and he will stop crying.
yeah,
But
so
tell me
cute.
a little bit about escalation and de-escalation.
So I am a very visual learner, and so with my kids, I use zones. The zones of regulation, which is the blue, green, orange, and red, because that way I can visually say to them, when you're in the orange zone. By the way, when I'm in the orange zone, when Daddy's in the orange zone, when the guy in the car next to us is in the orange zone, right? There's nothing you can teach in the orange in the red zone. What we need to do is get them back down into the green zone. So when they're having a tantrum, if they've thrown something across the room, that is not the time to say, how dare you? You should not be doing that. You know better than that. You're never going to look at books again. I'm going to take your iPad away, whatever it is. That's not the time. That's the time to say, wow, to connect before you correct. Wow, you're having some really big feelings right now. Gosh, I know. Then when they get back down to the green zone, oh my gosh, do you remember you threw that book? Ugh. We really don't throw books when we get angry because it can damage it. It can damage the wall. So what do we need to do now? Oh my gosh, the book ripped when you threw it. So let's go get some tape and let's repair the damage that we did, because we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to be impulsive. How do we recover? How do we reduce, recover, and repair? Like, that's, and so the escalation, I think that's what you were referring to, is using that scale of being able to know that that we're all somewhere on that scale. And there's a lot of reasons for it too. It can be because we're hungry, we're tired, look, everybody knows at the end of the day, we have a lot less to give, or we have decision fatigue, we have everything fatigue. And bedtime is the hardest time because parents don't have the energy. We're in the orange zone, moving into the red zone. And so we just need to make sure we're doing everything we can to stay in a healthy zone, and so that we can co-regulate down and stay in the green zone.
Good. And now, and I want to go deeper into that, because that is fascinating, is how because we also have this pressure from society of, I need to be the perfect mom. And then if I am the perfect mom, I am not allowed to go to the red zone, because if I'm in the red zone, then I screw up. I actually remember when my baby was 4 weeks old, I was trying to feed him with a tube from my breast, and I was tired and sleep deprived, and he didn't want to latch in the boob. And then it was like 6 p.m. Getting a little emotional. And then I yell at him and say, Elliot Peters. And then after that, I just start crying. I was like, what a horrible mom I am, that I just yell at my 3 week old tiny little baby. And then all that guilt came into what being a perfect mom is. But what you are offering, if I understand right, is the escalation and the escalation is not just for them, it's for
Oh yeah.
us, and for us to be able to say, hey, I'm in the red zone. So why you don't tell our moms what they can do when they're in the red zone, what they can do when they feel that they are getting into the red zone to avoid it if possible, but then also, like happened to me, what happened when they are already in the red zone, and in the red zone they yell or do something that they regret after, how they
Okay.
fight with
I
the
have
guilt.
I have my favorite story. One morning, going out to school, Dashiell was probably 8, Declan was maybe 5, getting him in the car. It's the morning rush. I'm trying to get them in the car, getting the lunches. Dashiell, I'm asking him, do you have any gum in your backpack? Because, that's one of the tools he uses to regulate. And he doesn't have any gum, and I didn't have any gum in the car. So I yell at my husband, "Can you bring me some gum?" He brings me brings me a pack of gum, hands it to me through the open window. And I look at it and I'm like, this is empty. And I throw the empty pack of gum at him. Red zone, red zone, red zone. And and my kids in the back are like, Mommy, why are you so mad? Why are you yelling at Daddy? And why are you so mad? So I pull out and I start to drive away, and I say, kids, Mommy is in the red zone. Can you please help me think of ways that I can get out of the red zone? I would have never in a million years told you what my kids were going to say. The older one says, well, Mommy, when you listen to meditation music, that helps you calm down at night and when we're going to bed. And the 5-year-old, he might have been 4 or 5, said, well, if you want to get to the green zone, you can just look at green things. There's a green tree. There's a green tree. There's a green bush. There's a green tree. And I was like, these kids are brilliant. If you just allow them and trust them, they're brilliant. And so one of the things is talking about it, right? And modeling for them, you know what? This happened to me. And I said, you know what? I got very stressed out. I had a lot of things happening. I should not have done that. So I got on the phone. I put my husband on speakerphone and I apologized to him while the kids were listening. I said, your kids were really good. They told me I shouldn't have done that. They were being really helpful. They're helping me get in the green zone. And I apologize for throwing that pack of gum at you. And again, it isn't that we're never going to be in the red zone and that we're going to be imperfect, but we need to model how to recover and repair. That's the magic right there. Because there is no perfect parent. Like, we should never be able to put those two words together in a sentence. Like, we should be zapped every time that somebody tries to put the word perfect and, mom together. Like, ugh, you just can't say those two words together because it's just not possible. It's an oxymoron, And so it's not fair to even have it that the two words can even go together. They won't ever fit. And so what you want to teach are life skills. So de-escalating is know ahead of time for yourself and your child. What de-escalates? So we worked with my older son, Dashiell. When you start to get in the orange zone, what helps you before we get to that spot? Before we get there, like, I can see you're getting really excited right now because it's not just anger, you're getting really impulsive. How can we calm that down? He'll tell you, a hug from my brother, beautiful. A shower or a bath, like water is really self-regulating for him. Being offered something to eat, like, so know what your regulators are. Know what they are before you get into it.
And I think that that's very powerful, because that is something that we as parents, and we were taught like that too, is we try to correct in the moment when they are in the red zone. And there is something that you say a little bit ago that was connect before you correct. And that is being aware that if our baby, if our child is, like, for example, when he was crying out there, like, there is not much that we can do when he's crying, because he's completely upset, his emotions are all over. So that point of connect before the correct is very good, and I want your insight on what are some tips and tools to do that. Because what I've been seeing is when I try to correct before I connect is because I am triggered. So
Yeah.
because one something that they did trigger me
Yeah.
and trigger my own beliefs and my own patterns, then I try to correct. So what are some of those tips to not allow ourselves to get triggered? And then your best tips into how we can connect before we correct.
So I teach this thing just called stop. In the middle of an escalation, stop. The S stands for shh. Just get quiet. Don't let yourself get, angry. Stay present. Don't look at the triggers now, look at them later. Like, why does this make me so angry? What is the expectation I have? What are the beliefs I have about him sitting at the table? So just be quiet, sit still, get quiet. They need to feel safe and secure. The T for stop is think like a child. What is happening for that child? They don't like their diaper being changed. Okay. So, a lot of times we want to rush to fix something too. He's going to grow out of that because you know what? He's not going to have his diaper changed the rest of his life. So he's going to grow out of it. And now we just hold space for him to be upset with it and not tell him it's okay. It's okay. Don't feel sad. Don't feel angry. Don't feel uncomfortable. We also try to stop from having these feelings so early on because it makes us uncomfortable. So just think like the child. What's happening to the child right now? Why are they so upset? And then O is observe. What is it? Get curious, talk to them, connect with them. Why are they so upset? And then, is it something that they can't even, that they don't know that they're thinking and you can't figure it out? Observe. Is it the discomfort? Maybe it's the type of diaper you're using. Maybe it's the bed that he's laying on when you're changing his diaper. I don't know, right? Maybe he just doesn't like to be no diaper on. Like, there's all kinds of things. So we get creative and we try different things. And the P is the problem solve, right? We try different things. We get creative. When a child is really escalated and they're at an age when you can communicate with them, or even a 10-month-old that's crying, I get it. Just him seeing you say, I get it. You don't like this. And I'm sorry it's uncomfortable. And I'm going to do this as quickly as I can so that it isn't as uncomfortable for you for that long. Do you know what I mean? You empathize, you're compassionate. That's how we regulate. That's how we bring them down, is we just get present with them. Sorry, now you can definitely hear that. But so many times we want to get in control. We feel out of control and we're not comfortable with that. And also we start moving into the future. Oh my God, if he doesn't do this, if he can't get comfortable with getting his diaper changed, then every single time I change his diaper, it's going to be a nightmare. And then I'm going to have to lose my mind because I can't change his diaper 5 times. Like, just stay present with this one diaper change. You don't know that the next diaper change, he might be totally fine. So stay present.
No, that's beautiful. Stop. So, moms, I hope that you write that, stop. Shh. Silence. T, think like a child. O, observe what is happening. And P, problem solving. That was beautiful, Stace. Stace, another question that I have for you that I would love for you to articulate a little bit more into this is that you talk about it, the part of the emotions and how because And that is something that I work with my moms, and with the relationship for food, and with that MOMFIT part also, is stop labeling some emotions good and some emotions bad, and then that rush that we feel of it's okay, it's okay. Actually, I was hearing a podcast this week of a psychologist, and she was saying that her baby got their vaccination shots, and then the baby started crying, and then her instinct was like, it's okay, it's okay. And then the pediatrician looked at her and said like, it is not okay,
It
he's in
hurts.
pain, it
Yeah.
hurt. And then she was like, oh my god, I feel like the worst mom, because I know all these and I didn't apply to my own child. But it's
Yeah.
that part of, what are some of the things that we can do to stop moving ourselves and our child into that, it's okay, don't cry, it's okay, you don't have to be upset, it's okay, and repress those emotions, but also the part of being a good boy, or you're being such a good boy, or you're being such a good girl, to label them into that bad and good. I want to hear your thoughts and your opinion on that.
I mean, the good and the bad, there's no way of knowing what's good and bad. There's a Chinese parable about good and bad, and you can look it up. And but who knows, right? And um, I think let's see, what were we talking about? I totally just lost my train of thought because I was going to tell the parable. But um, I think when you're looking at your child and you're thinking whether they are good or bad, a lot of times what we do is we give it very conditional love, and we say we're unconditionally loving. But when they're being bad, that's when the mean face comes out. That's when we're more disconnected. That's when they're in a timeout. Is that unconditionally loving? When they are misbehaving, by the way, I don't think any child is ever misbehaving. I think they are miscommunicating. So if they're miscommunicating and you're creating this separation, I don't love you as much when you're misbehaving. I don't love you as much when you can't control yourself, when you can't self-regulate. Oh, but you're being good, you're being compliant, you're eating all your vegetables. Now I love you. You're so wonderful. So you have to be really careful of that. And the emotions, we are very uncomfortable as human beings with discomforts. And it's good. I mean, you have a splinter in your finger, it's uncomfortable. You're going to address it. You're going to take it out so it doesn't get infected. Your body is going to work, so that you get rid of it. But with emotions, it is really important to be okay with them. Not that we just wallow in them, but to not say that we have to fix everything. There's nothing more painful for a mom than watching her child in pain. But that's life. And that's how we grow and evolve. Everybody here knows that we can always look at anything that was painful and say, this is what I learned from it. This is how I got better from it. And if we deprive our children from ever feeling negative emotions, we deprive them the opportunity to grow, to build resilience. And so we just have to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And when my child is really afraid, and it's the middle of the night and he's like, I need the light on because I'm afraid a robber's going to come. Not being like, you're being silly, there's no robbers. Don't be silly, turn off the light, go to bed. Oh, what caused that? 3 a.m. What caused that? Why are you so afraid? I mean, even if I'm tired, I'm really trying to help him unravel. Instead of just stop feeling afraid. Why are you afraid? What did you watch? You watched something on YouTube that was supposed to be funny and it scared you. Okay, why did it scare you? Let's talk about it. You're afraid someone's going to break into the house. Okay, how do we handle that? How do you take control? You're not a victim. How can you take control of being afraid of someone coming in your house? Okay, you're going to get locks on the door. Maybe why don't we learn karate or jujitsu or self-defense? Like, don't be a victim to it. So I'm teaching him how to unravel fear and then how to work with it. That's the
Yeah,
most recent.
absolutely. Thank you so much. That is beautiful and so helpful. And we are getting close to the end of our beautiful session. Before we end, I want to touch something that I learned from you, and it's a gift that you give me. Um, Even before I had Elliot, but now that I have Elliot, I use it a lot. And that is, I want you to share with everybody what you share with me, and that is, what is the reframe of, oh, why you're giving me a hard time? You are
Oh,
giving
yeah.
me such a hard time. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let you lead it. And let's going to talk a little bit about that, because that is one of the tools that can change any parent, any mom to be, even for a newborn. I use it with my newborn. So go ahead.
Yeah. Your child is not giving you a hard time. Your child is having a hard time. And that I use all the time in my own life, because children are going to have a hard time. And our job is, but that's the trigger, right? We're frustrated. I don't want, and I will tell you, a lot of when we get frustrated is because it's just not convenient. I don't want him to have a hard time in the grocery store. I don't want him to have a hard time at the block party, because I want to have my drink and I want to, socialize with the other people on the block, and I don't want him to have a hard time right now. Our job, we chose this. They didn't choose it. And I'm sorry, but at that point, the choice is always for the child. My child's having a hard time at a block party because it's too overstimulating. It is more important that I take him home, or I remove him, or I help him, than for me to sit and have a cocktail with some friends, because this is my choice. And now, do I want to help him learn to adapt to that? Do I want to have him teach the skills? Yes, but not in that moment when he's in the red zone. And we circle back to the red zone, and we need to help him get back to the green zone, which might mean leaving.
And that is so true. Like, this is one of the things that saved so many sleepless nights with Elliot, because sometimes he was just crying, 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 and I changed everything and I did everything in the checklist, and he was still crying. And then there was times that I was like, "Oh, why you're giving me such a hard time? Why you can just not sleep?" And then I had Stacey's little voice saying, "He's not giving you a hard time. He's having a hard time." And then for all of us mamas, when we start using that, that makes magic, because immediately we create empathy and compassion. Because like I was saying, the worst thing that can happen to us is seeing our child suffering. So when we realize that they are having a hard time, then everything else lose significance and importance, because now we are like, wow, I'm sorry you are having a hard time. I'm here for you. Mommy love you. So,
Yeah.
Stay, thank you so, so much for being here with us. This was such a pleasure. Please, as we wrap up, tell the audience how they can connect with you, how they can keep learning from you.
Oh my gosh, I never want this to end. I just want you to come and we'll just do this talk forever. I love it. Yeah, so you can find me on happierbytheminute.com, Instagram, Happier by Minute, Facebook. Certainly, you can email me, Stacey at Happier by the Minute, if you have any questions. I do a 9-week parenting ADHD, which again is good for any child that is ever going to have a misbehavior. So it's good for anybody. So you can find that on my website, which is happierbytheminute/ADHD.
Thank you so much. And moms to be, I hope that you take a lot of notes, and like me, you start preparing and planning ahead of the time to choose the parenting place that fit you and fit your baby. And if you already have children, know that it's your job to protect your children and not let society to label it. And then there's people like a state that are professionals and experts to hold your hand every step of the process, because the reality is we are changing the people that needs to go live. So this show can also be here on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it.
And love it.